Mika Chavala. I'm from Tanzania, and I'm the founder of Swahili Nation One Africa Foundation. And it's a pleasure to be here again in the country I love. And to meet with my fellow Africans. Yeah, indeed. First of all, I want to appreciate the government of Ethiopia for coming with such a big initiative and inviting these young, brilliant Africans, from all over the continent to come here and to just talk about what matters a lot to us, Africa. Because to us, young people, it's a matter of survival. Sure. Because we know that we want to prepare the safe environment for our kids and for the future generation. And if we're not gonna have that, then we think like it's gonna be really bad for our future. And so bringing young people to discuss about the future of the continent, it's actually the right move, because we'll be here longer than the old generation, if I'm not mistaken, you know what I'm saying? So that was just brilliant, and to meet and connecting with different young people from all over the continent with the same like mind, it was just amazing. I took a lot of numbers through that program, by the way. It's fascinating. I had an opportunity last week to visit. I went to Adama to visit the wheat production, because I wanted to create a little documentary about the success story of wheat production in Ethiopia. I heard when I was back in Tanzania, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go there to see, to learn, and then I'm going to tell the world, the rest of Africa. I went there, and it was fascinating that the area that they're growing that wheat, particularly this in Adama place, it used to be, it's like Rift Valley closest there, and they had nothing before, but just in the range of 2 years, they grow, like during winter, he said, like 1.7 million hectares. And during other time, like over 1 million hectares, they're growing wheat, and just one region of Adama can actually feed the entire country of Ethiopia, and also have excessive amount to export outside. Initiatives like this, it gives me so much hope that in Africa, we actually have leaders that are visionary, right? And they want to have a free, independent Africa. Because the other day I was having this conversation, on our channel, Swahili Nation, and one debate that I was asking, are we really Africa? Are we really independent? Because when you look at everything that we have, we depend on someone else. And every time when we try to arise and to do something on our own, there's a lot of limitations. There's a lot of intervention are coming. So are we really independent? So this initiative that, for example, the government of Ethiopia is taking, and the initiative that I hope African Union will be taking in the near future, like the suggestion I gave about one, passport, to have like, one currency, one army, all these initiatives, they actually prepare us to be more independent. Instead of looking outside, we're looking inside, and we use what we have, to develop ourselves as well, to serve our beautiful people of Africa. All these youth who came together, they are people who actually want to become leaders later on, to lead their countries. And it was just fascinating to have ex-leaders, people who actually govern the country, to be there to speak to us and to actually share with us what were the success and what were the failure. So for us sitting and listening to that, I think it was really fascinating. But more than that, the anger of youth, it was about, that we don't just want this summit to happen. We want us to have an opportunity to actually contribute, to do something, because we have ideas and we feel like we can actually do something out of it. So I believe all the youth, we are actually leaving out of this summit believing that there's something has to be done for us to be given a chance to actually lead and to contribute as well. And it was just amazing to see all these wonderful leaders and for what they've done, and share with us what can we do in our generation to actually correct the mistake that they were done long time ago, but also to carry on the mission that our leaders are trying to do. And so that I think for me it was really fascinating. I want to answer to one beautiful question that His Excellency here raised, that as a young people, we have to think, how can we get out of this? And for me, I think it's very simple. How can we get out of this? We need one Africa. We need one Africa. We need to have a common voice. We need to have one voice. Because right now, you can take an example of what is going on in Ethiopia and how Ethiopia is trying to stand against, the Western influence. it's fascinating. But imagine if that energy will be coming from 55 countries of Africa.
Sure.
Imagine if all of us, we come together, we have one passport, we have one currency, we're strengthening the economy of our continent. Because right now, in order to come to Ethiopia, I need to use dollar to change to, I need to use my currency to change to dollar, and then I come here, I change dollar to, you know, the other money. So basically what I do is I strengthen the foreign currency in my own continent. But if we have our own currency, and that's what we use in our movement across the continent, that means we are strengthening our Central Bank of Africa, we are strengthening our economy, we have one voice. Even when we demand the seats at the United Security Council, we're not demanding at one leader or one country, but as one people with the strength. And if they dare to put sanction on one country in Africa, we tell them put sanction on the entire continent of Africa, which they're not gonna do. So the pattern is going to change. As Africa, we're gonna be putting sanctions on them because they need Africa, but we need one another. Take an example of what Ethiopia is producing wheat, right? That you can actually support other African countries. In Africa, when you go to each country, our land, for example, in Tanzania, we grow maize, we grow rice. In other countries, they go, for example, Madagascar, they go vanilla, right? And other countries of Africa. So if all of us, we are united, we become one. And we use our strength to produce the crops we can produce and integrate with one another, supporting one another, trading among ourselves. I'm telling you, Africa will be untouchable. There's no single food that will come from outside to support Africa, but instead we're strengthening our farmers to continue to grow and to provide for our people. That is the only way. One Africa is the only way for us to get out of this, deep hole and to actually shine in the level that we are supposed to be, because we are Africans and we're meant to be like that. My suggestion in this is that to African leaders and those who have been leading us, do you think we have crossed the line too far? What I mean is, all the support, all the aids, everything that we've been receiving for the past 60 years after independence, have we crossed the line too far that we are at the place where we cannot come back? We cannot say, no, we want to lead by ourselves. Do we have too much debt to the point that we cannot stand for ourselves and say, like, you know what, we forget about you, we're going to work by ourselves? So I feel like the reason why right now we are not like the old days is because of course, commitment, as my colleagues say here, but also fear, the fear of backlash. That's why you see right now in Africa, you'll find maybe one leader or two leaders, they're standing strong to speak confidently against, whatever that is happening against, our continent. But the rest, they don't really say anything because they are scared. They are fearing that the backlash is going to be huge. Maybe we're going to be sanctioned like Zimbabwe or like Eritrea or like Ethiopia. And what are we going to do after then? But when you fear a man, you cannot really go anywhere, you cannot really do anything. And so I think that's why I always say this. Nyerere said this in 1963 when he went to Ghana and they had this OAU summit. He said that without unity, there's no future for Africa. Because the future that we need, the future that we want, it begins with us being united. Because no matter how many sanctions are going to be imposed in certain countries, but if we come together and we protect one another, we are going to survive. There are countries in Africa surviving and they've been living under, sanction for so long time, right? You know what I mean? And in the case that you raised before about the raw materials and everything, it's very simple. When we're united, we just demand for equal trade. Because right now, Africa trade more with Europe than Africa itself. But the thing is, we don't have equal trade with Europe. Take an example of Ethiopia, they're trading coffee. But there's no any similarity of the money that is coming from the product that is coming from Africa. But when we come together, we're in a position of demanding that, all right, now all the money that have been taken away from Africa, we demand equal trade. If you want to take our products and bring to us raw material, we're bringing to you raw materials and you want to bring to us product, we need equal trade. We need fair trade between Africa and them. They need our product anyways. They need our raw materials. So are we really in a position of demand? Right now we don't demand because we are not coming together. We don't have that unity of demanding things together at the same time. Like if we do have that, I don't know, I know we understand this, but if we do have that, if Ethiopia is doing what it's doing here, what about the rest of Africa? If all of us, we come together, we join our hands, just like our forefathers, they fought against colonialism. Yeah. On my side, I think young people, we need to enrich ourselves with knowledge and skills. If you don't have computer skills, make sure you get computer skills. If you don't have knowledge about business administration, get that knowledge, because you don't need to go to university to get this knowledge. This knowledge these days, in the age of internet, you can get everywhere. This is the preparation. We need to be prepared for the war that is about to come. And the war that I'm talking about is not this war, but I'm talking about, you know, knowledge war, like mindset war, like IT and all this stuff war. We need to be enriched so much with knowledge and skills, so that as we begin to produce ourselves and to, you know, to work by ourselves, we may have the huge population of people, young people, who can actually run these things. Instead of looking outside, we'll look in the inside. So instead of spending your time on TikTok, spending your time on Instagram videos, spend your time by enriching yourself the knowledge and the skills for the preparation of the better future of Africa.